Hi everyone, happy Valentine's Day. This is the LEGO Botanicals Flower Arrangement. It was released on February 1st, 2025, and I'm going to build it without the instructions. Here it actually makes sense to have a black box for this set. It's an 18 plus set, and I like the contrast here between all the different flowers and the black box. Here, I think it's okay to have a black box, unlike many other sets, and it does show the premium feel of the set. Although I do think the box is larger than it needs to be, but we'll find out soon enough. Here's what this thing looks like in context. So I think this is maybe a better view of the thing. And then here we can see that we can combine this set with this other set, the pretty pink flower bouquet, and get something like this. So that's always a possibility. And here are the dimensions for this thing. All right, let's open the box and see what's inside. And here, thankfully, we do not have the push tabs. So we'll cut through 1, 2 tapes. By pushing all these pieces down, you can make the box basically 40% empty, and this means that they could have made the box smaller by that size while keeping all the pieces inside. So definitely this box could have been a lot smaller, but let's just see what do we get in the box anyways. So in the set, we got 10 numbered bags, numbered from 1 to 10, and here's a closer look at them. Here's bag 2. Bag 6 is particularly small, so all these bags are not all the same size. And we also got this unnumbered bag with these pieces here in dark red. This should contain the instruction booklet. And thankfully there are no stickers included in this set. Here's a look at the instructions on the front and the back. And I do expect there to be some information about what we're building right here. So yes, they do thankfully point out what is the name of each flower. So that's very useful. You can hit pause if you want to read this information now. And then some general description of what the set is about. Yeah, nice lifestyle photos. And then it tells you how to use a brick separator. So there's going to be an orange one in this set. Then it tells you open bag 1 and start building. So at this point, we're going to put away the instructions and I'm going to build the set without them. I will use only the box, front and back, as well as the online 3D view that LEGO provides. So I'm able to see this from all the different angles. All right, let's go. Bag 1 builds the first part of the vase. I'm not quite sure this is exactly what the internal build is like, but this is what it looks like from the exterior. And I will recommend to take the time and make sure you build it right. Don't cut any corners here. You're going to need a solid foundation for all the heavy flowers that will follow in the next steps. I will hold on to these pieces just in case we need them later. And before I move on to bag 2, I'll point out the building techniques of the vase right now, because it's going to be difficult to point that out once there's lots of flowers getting in the way. So essentially this thing is built studs up on this side and studs down on this side. So basically right side up and upside down. And then we just put the two parts together. So that's a pretty interesting design choice. And we see here the anti-studs. Of course, all this is going to be covered up very soon, but I just thought that was a nice thing to do. And here we see a bit of the core. And another interesting thing is that this is built entirely using LEGO system. There's zero LEGO Technic used here whatsoever, which is pretty impressive because previous vases that we've gotten recently did use a lot of LEGO Technic, which I thought was unnecessary to a large extent like that. And I'm happy that they were able to do this completely within the LEGO system. Now this 2x4 brick is an interesting piece because it has axles down the middle, where usually you would get the tubes similar like this, so that's a pretty nice piece right there. I think I've seen a piece like this before, but it's nice to see it again in this context. And this is the only Technic piece so far in this set, which is pretty impressive. And again, just before I finish the build, just look at this thing. It's upside down. We're clipping things at 45-degree angles, and make sure you put them exactly in the middle so that the geometry works out. Yeah, this is a lot of thinking that went into this. I'm very impressed. Of course, it's all going to get covered up. I just wanted to show you the intermediate steps. I'm sure the designers went through several iterations and thinking to make it exactly right, just like this. Even the color coding, yellow goes with yellow. It's very smart. This is probably the building instructions team that thought of this color scheme. So bag 2 finishes up the vase with this very interesting construction with studs pointing in all 6 directions, even more than that with the diagonal stuff. And then this thing that looks like a game world, but in reality it's where we're going to be setting up the flowers that goes on top of it, just like that. So for bag 3 we will additionally be needing some of the pieces in the unnumbered bag. Bag 3 gives us these purple looking flowers. I don't know their formal name, but we'll look at that all at the end. We got two nice flowers right here. And by default, these go here and here. Although, of course, you can put them wherever you want. And in fact, you are encouraged to move the flowers around as you prefer. But I'll start with the default configuration for my review. Bag 4 gives us two of these nice yellow and orangish flowers, and you might have noticed a lot of repetition in these builds, and that's okay. With these kind of sets, you want to embrace the repetition and build it slowly, calmly, and just be in Zen mode. Otherwise, you'll just be bored of putting the same assembly again and again and again. And by default, these flowers go right here. So in bag 5, we got lots of this new piece for 2025. It's a piece with a hollow stud on one side and a clip on the other. This is very useful for many different applications, like stud reversal. Bag 5 gives us these partial flowers. They look like green dandelions. In reality, they're these purple flowers right here before we add the butterfly pieces to them. And speaking of which, all those pieces plus these blue studs are in tiny little bag 6, but this bag is going to take more time than you might think. So what I recommend at this point is get some music or a podcast or something and just listen to it, take it easy, enjoy the process. So many pieces in here, I wonder how many. So in total, we have 30 of these butterfly pieces, and here's a close-up look at one of them. They're all identical. These are not printed, by the way. So 30 of these, and then another 48 that have the blue stud attached to their underside. Now we're going to put all of these across these two flowers. And the way this works is that we're going to apply ones with the blue stud on these two lower levels, and then the ones without on these upper levels. And we're going to do them in an alternating fashion like this. So one butterfly pointing up, and another one pointing down right after it, like this. Pretty hard to attach. And then they would also alternate between this level and this level. So if it's going up this way, then this one is going down. Bag 6 finishes up these dark purple flowers, and they're done using lots and lots of these butterfly pieces. And important to keep in mind that this top layer, all the butterflies are pointing outwards, and same thing right here. Yeah, these were very time consuming to put together. It's very easy to put together conceptually, so you see very easily how it's done, but then actually doing it takes a lot of time. So again, go into Zen mode and enjoy putting this together, because otherwise it'll be very frustrating. Also, you might want to combine these assemblies entirely, so put all this together and then clip it on. That might be easier. I have not tested that, but that might be a better way to do things. And once everything is assembled, you can move things around to make it look more organic, more natural. It actually looks better when they're not completely symmetrical. Of course, you can adjust it once it's actually in the bouquet itself. Speaking of which, these are meant to go here and on the other one on the other side that's symmetrical to it. Bag 7 builds all of this nice foliage, so it's a very easy bag compared to bag 6. A lot less repetition here. A little bit of repetition here, but that's not that bad, honestly. And here's where all of these go. And starting from this point, the bouquet is no longer going to be symmetrical with the insertion of this one right here. Now we're going to have a bit of a difference between this side and this side. And I realize now that I'm putting everything into place, maybe it's actually better to just assemble the flowers but not put them in here until you put them in the right order from bottom to top. This way you won't have to move things around all the time. There are a lot of reddish-orange pieces in bag 8, some of them for the first time, or close to the first time. And again, a reminder, reddish-orange is a color from 2024. It sits between the regular red and the regular orange, so it's a color that's somewhere in between. And I do like this color a lot. Bag 8 builds 2 identical flowers. They're done in reddish orange mostly. They come together in a very interesting way and are placed here and here. I have to say right from the jump, why is this red axle included in this set? We did have a black one in just another bag previously in the exact same set, so why, LEGO, are you giving us a red axle for some random reason? Is it 2 different people who worked on the design of this set, or what? I just don't get it. This could have easily been a black axle. There's not even other black pieces here that would make it confusing. The closest thing is these dark green foliage pieces. Totally different. I will point out the use of this minifigure accessory piece as petals here. So it's very nice to see this piece unprinted, used in a completely different context. But this can totally be worn by minifigures. And here's what that would look like on a minifigure, just to give some additional context. Bag 9 gives us these kind of flowers, which are a different shade of purple yet again. And these ones go here and here. Actually, what I'm going to do, because I don't want to see this red pin, is actually I can swap it around. So I can actually do this, put this red axle here where it will not be shown, and use the black axle here. Yeah, much better. These, by the way, in case you did not know, are Harry Potter wands, recolored here to yellow-green. They come in groups of 2, like this, and then you remove both parts and use them, and then this part is usually discarded. Bag 10 gives us these orange flowers, and with this we are done with the build. And these would go here. Alright, now we are done with the flower arrangement, at least putting it together, and here it is. I'll move the box away just to give it a bit more space, and this thing is larger than I thought it would be. I mean, I did see it in store before buying it, but now that I built it and I have it in front of me, it's more substantial than some of these smaller botanical sets that I built. But it makes sense because it's more expensive and has more parts, but it just feels like there's a lot of stuff here, even though a lot of it is just empty air. So that is something to keep in mind. Here's what it looks like from the camera unfriendly angle, where you get to see the undersides of these leaves, but honestly, it's not that bad. And a lot of these flowers are symmetrical or identical on both sides. So this flower is identical to this flower and so on. And some of them are almost identical with very, very small variations, usually just the angle at which they're placed. And if you have just a few of your own pieces, you can change those angles up to your liking. And one thing I'll point out, which is a little bit difficult to see, but there are a few spots where you can add some additional flowers of your own. And so by default, this set does not cover every single one of these slots that are available. So if you have additional flowers that follow the same LEGO Botanicals format, you can just plug them in directly without having to remove anything from here, as long as they fit, of course, in terms of the space that they occupy. Here are the extra pieces in the set, and notably I got 4 of these wand pairs. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I definitely got more than what I would have expected or needed, so that's pretty cool, I guess, if I want to start a wizarding school with lime green magic wands. I also ended up not using these plates and tiles, and these were supposed to go somewhere in the base, but I ended up not needing them. Here's a size comparison of this set with a minifigure. This is Bella from the LEGO Twilight Cullen House that I reviewed recently. It's a minifigure that came out on the same day as this set, and you can see that it's completely dwarfed by this thing. So this is not minifigure scale, obviously. This is actually human scale. And if minifigures were to walk around here, they would consider this to be like some giant forest or something like that. So this is not really minifigure scale or minifigure compatible, but you can still attach minifigures to some of the parts, like these leaves and so on, if you really, really want to. But it's not designed to do that primarily. So if you want to make this a minifigure habitat, you're going to have to make some changes. Here, we're basically having this vase or vase, and everything is added on top of it. This is built in 2 building phases using some interesting building techniques. This whole subassembly is upside down, in fact, which I found to be surprising, but it works. It just makes sense. And then you attach this part to this main part right here, and it just fits together perfectly. So that's pretty nice. I like the border here of tan. It's not completely monochromatic. It has a little bit of color to it, but it's not too colorful to take away from the vibrancy of the flowers. So I think that was a good choice. And here we have this thing that kind of looks like a game world where we attach these flowers, and there's, as I said earlier, additional slots to add more flowers if you have them from other sets. So yeah, in terms of the individual flowers, we build them bag by bag. So each bag has 1 or 2 different plant varieties. And as I said before, I am not a plant expert, so I will rely on the instructions now that I'm done with the set, just to tell you the names of these flowers. So this is a Night Rider Camellia. This is an Ito Peony. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. This is a Hydrangea. This is a Baby's Breath, this white one right here. This is a Persian Buttercup, the reddish orange one. This is a hummingbird flower. And finally, this is a lily flower. So I'm not familiar with these names, so I'll just refer to the colors of the flowers when talking about them. So this dark red flower right here is done quite nicely. It's the first one that we build, and it uses a lot of these canopy pieces that are used usually for spaceships, so that's a nice part usage right there. And a lot of these have nice part usage, so that's to be expected in the botanicals line at this point. These yellow things are robot arms, and these gold pieces are dramatic tees. So very, very interesting collection of parts. If you look at it really, really closely, the illusion starts to break down and you start to see it as a bunch of Lego pieces. But once you look at it from far away, especially from the right angles, then it's totally believable that this is a flower. Moving up next to this yellow flower, again, it uses a bunch of interesting parts, including these clamshells and these parasols or umbrella pieces. And these are minifigure scale. So we're just putting them together in a very interesting way. And I like the final result. If there was a way to have, like, instead of 4, we could have 5 of these, I think would make it more natural, because 4 is a very Lego number. Everything in Lego is done with a grid, so if they could have found a way to move away from having 4 pieces, like what they did here, for example, I think that would be better. I'm not talking about these 4, I'm talking about the stuff that goes all around. But still, very nice to get, regardless. Next up we build this, and this is the most tedious flower to build. I tried to take it zen, I tried to relax and build it, but eventually it just got very, very repetitive. So this one you might want to outsource to someone else to build, like if you have a kid or something, they might want to build this. It looks cool, but putting it together was a bit of a pain, and actually you can adjust these butterflies a little bit to minimize the gaps, especially from the viewing angles that you'll be seeing this, because you're not going to be seeing it from the bottom, you're going to be seeing it from this side, so you're going to want to move these around to minimize those gaps. Yeah, this is still a successful design in my opinion, because you're using so many of these butterfly pieces to achieve a look that's quite similar to the source material, so that's pretty nice. And these leaves were not labeled in the instructions, so I'm assuming they're just generic leaves, and they break up the monotony of the flowers, and they add additional visual interest with minimal part count. So nice leaves here, 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 and here. Baby's breath are the simplest, and these are the next simplest, although I do appreciate using the minifigure B pieces. I don't know which minifigure these came in originally, but I think it's the B collectible minifigure. So these are supposed to be her wings. These orange flowers are gorgeous. You build them at the very end, and it's a nice way to end the build. They're very simple in their build, but the shape, the final result, is absolutely magnificent. And I also like these reddish-orange flowers as well. These ones, you are basically just putting pieces together, and then it all comes together in the end, like you fold them in. And I just like the way that it was done, and again, you can adjust these a little bit to make it look less squarish and more realistic. Lots of cool stuff here. And let's look at this from the top. So here's another perspective of the set from the top. And it's nice to see the flowers from a different vantage point, and it still looks good. If you look really closely, you might see some gaps, but there are no unsightly colors. There were 2 red axles, but I was able to successfully replace them by just moving them around, as I explained earlier during the speed build. I don't know why they included those 2 red axles, but at least they give us the parts to be able to replace them, so I won't complain about that too much. And yeah, I definitely like what I see here. Oh, except for this blue pin, especially because it's inserted into a lime green piece, is a little bit jarring. I wish they would recolor this pin, at least for the 18 plus sets, to black or dark bluish gray or something. I know for kids they have to give them different parts in different colors so they don't get confused, but this is an 18 plus set, and I would expect better from LEGO in that respect. I keep saying this again and again, and I hope one day they finally listen and give us fans what we want. So yeah, I'm spinning this around again and again just so you see it from all the different angles, and you don't just see the camera-friendly angle that is advertised on the box. So yeah, it's a pretty nice set. And here's a comparison with other LEGO Botanicals sets that I built and reviewed recently, all without the instructions. So here we have the poinsettia, this is the plum blossom, one of the 4 gentlemen, and here is the Botanicals polybag from January. So all of these, in theory, can be combined with this set, at least in part. So let's see what that would look like, although they're not necessarily marketed as being able to combine together, because this is more of a winter plant, this is more of a spring-summer thing, but because it's all LEGO, you could totally mix these 2 together if you want. So the first thing I'll start off with is this one, this dandelion. It has a regular axle at the bottom, so this is the easiest. You just plug it in, and here's what that would look like. It is a little bit too tall for the rest of the bouquet, but of course you can always adjust the height of these by removing 1 or more of these pieces, so if you wanted to, you could always add a bunch of dandelions here. In terms of appearance, I think the dandelion is a bit small compared to the other larger flowers, so this is not necessarily the best fit, but I'd say it's okay. If you have a bunch of these, I could see it making sense. If you adjust the height, maybe angle them out a little bit, so this one does work. And these other 2, without attaching them just to see what they look like, I think these are best suited on their own, but you could always add 1 or 2 of them if you really want to. For these ones, you're going to need to add 1 or 2 of your own pieces to attach them to the base of the flower arrangement, because no such piece is provided with either set. I give myself a bit more space to add a bunch of other stuff, and at the same time, let's take a look at how all these are attached together. So this is not a bad look right here. Lots of interesting colors, and they're almost all consistent in terms of the various shades of green. Let's add the plum blossom. I don't know if that's the best look, because here this is done in the dark brown versus this in green. In terms of the flowers, again, these flowers are good looking, but they're a bit small compared to these larger flowers. So I don't know if this is the best look, and try to ignore this part for now. I think if you have this design of flower with a stem recolored to green, it could work. Yeah, I mean, the poinsettia, it's usually a plant on its own, so this is not the most realistic thing. But if you just want the design, you don't care about accuracy, then I think this could work as well, although these colors are dark, these colors are more bright. I like it better next to this piece right here, and these two go well together. Yeah, it's not the best combination in my opinion, but it can still work. So yeah, these are the different combinations I could do with the pieces that I have on hand. Yeah, I do think the default arrangement is the one that looks the best, because these sets, both the poinsettia and the plum blossom, are not really designed to combine with the others. But there are other LEGO sets, other LEGO Botanicals without the vases that are marketed as being compatible with the set. For example, the pretty pink flower bouquet. And on LEGO.com, they show you what that would look like if you put those two together, and that looks really good. And just before I put the poinsettia back together, you see here they're using lots of red axles and blue pins. While there's still some of those in the flower arrangement set, there's a lot less. So I think LEGO has been slowly listening to customer feedback and reducing these colors that we don't want to see. They're not at 100% yet, but it's a lot better now than it was just last year with the poinsettia that was released in October 2024. So we're slowly going to the right place. And once again, here's what these sets look all together. So in terms of the comparison between these sets, in terms of the vases, I just like this one the best, just because it has this nice drum lacquered gold all around it. It just makes the most sense to me. This one is also good. This one might actually be the weakest of the three. It's not too special in comparison to the other two, but it does get the job done. So this is not a bad base or vase. It's just not as fancy as this one, or even this one. It has like this nice pattern all around it. On the other hand, this one is very simple to construct. The one for the flower arrangement is done almost entirely using LEGO system pieces. Very little LEGO Technic. I think there's only 1 or 2 pieces of LEGO Technic in this whole thing, compared to some other sets in the past that were almost entirely with Technic. So I think that's definitely an improvement for the target audience of this set, which is people who are not necessarily LEGO Technic builders. This might be their first or second LEGO set ever, or they might be getting back into LEGO after not having built LEGO for a long time. So they want something that is nice and easy and has minimal frustrations. And as much as I love LEGO Technic for vehicles and things like that, I think moving to LEGO system just makes building these sets a lot more pleasant. Yeah, it's a great set to have in terms of the build experience without the instructions. Most of the difficulty in terms of figuring out how to put the thing together will be in the base, because this is something that you will not be able to see the inside of unless you look at the instructions. So I did have to guess on how this thing was built. I think I got it mostly right. I had a few extra pieces that I ended up not using, these tiles and plates that I showed a bit earlier, but the build seems that it's stable enough even without those pieces. The flowers, you can mostly see how they're built from the box, and if you have the 3D view, you're able to look at them from all the angles. You should be good for pretty much all of them. The one flower that's challenging to build, not because it's difficult, but just because of the sheer repetitiveness, is this flower right here. So all these flowers have repetition to one extent or another, but this one really takes the cake. There's 78 of these butterfly pieces, 78. So that's 78 times that you're gonna have to attach this piece to the piece underneath it. So lots and lots of work that's very repetitive. So on this side and also on this other side, so basically doing the same flower twice. So this one was very tedious in my opinion to build. And that's why if you do get this set, try to find someone to build it with. So a life partner or friend or family member, or someone like that, just so that you can build one flower and they can build the other one. I think that's the best way to build this together, because you've got only one instruction manual. So even if you do use the instructions, one of you is going to have to use the online version, or you just build the same bag at the same time. So we're both building bag 1. I'm building this flower. You're building the exact same flower on the other side, and then we move to bag 2 and so on. If you're 3 or more people, then I guess you're going to have to split the bags differently. But yeah, as a couple, it's very easy to build this set because most of the things that you see here are doubled. This is doubled, this is doubled, this is doubled, this is almost doubled, so this and this are almost identical. This is doubled with minor variations. And this one is not quite doubled because you have more leaves on this side than this side, but it's close enough. It's pretty much the only exception. So yeah, building this set without the instructions, I think, was informative. I did learn some new building techniques, but I consider this set to be successful in that respect. And there's lots of very interesting, nice part usage right here. Some of them that I pointed out already, but let me see if I can point them out one more time. So we have these minifigure B pieces right here used as accessories, the butterflies, Harry Potter wands, robot hands, the clamshells, parasols, or umbrellas. These teeth here used usually for animals recolored to this light purple, this spiderweb piece. So really lots and lots of interesting pieces that were recolored for this set, or they've been recolored previously and reused here. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting parts pack. In terms of price and value, this is a set that costs $110 US or $140 Canadian, compared to the poinsettia that costs $50 US or 65 Canadian, the plum blossom, which costs $30 US or $40 Canadian, and this polybag set, which usually costs $5 US or $6 Canadian, but you might be able to get it for free during certain promotional periods. So I thought about the value of this set a little bit, and I think that in general, I like these botanicals to be on discount. Very often we see these discounted at various retailers, 20%, 25%, even 30% off, and I think if you can find it with that discount, then it's definitely a good deal. At regular retail price, it's less of a good deal, but still okay in my opinion, just because there's so many large pieces. Yes, there are small pieces in the set, but also large pieces like the ones used for the base. And by the way, here we do have the base, and some of the other sets we do not. So you do get this whole thing. This does cost some amount of money. And then there's lots of large pieces used for some of the flowers, like these pieces right here, these pieces, and so on. But I still think that $140 Canadian, the amount that I paid, is a little bit too much for this stuff. Yes, there's lots of stuff here, but there's also lots of hollow space in between these flowers, and there's 0 minifigures in this set, 0 printed pieces, 0 dual molded pieces, and so on. So yes, there's good stuff here, but I do wish that the price was a little bit lower. Now, in terms of the flexibility that this set offers, they did design it to work with the Pretty Pink flower bouquet and other flower bouquets that LEGO released over the years. Now, because they put additional work into that, I do give the set a bit of credit for that, but not too much, because you'd have to buy those other sets. They're not offered for free or at a discount. Like if you buy this set, you don't get the other sets at 50% off or something like that, at least not at the time of this recording. But if they did do something like that, I would definitely support that. So yeah, there's lots of good stuff here. It's a great parts pack. I just wish it was a little bit cheaper. Like, I think the regular retail price on this should have been $100 US or 130 Canadian. So I'm asking for a $10 discount. I don't think that's too much to ask. And with insider points or just regular double points, you should be able to get that kind of discount. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this set. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Happy Valentine's Day, and I'll see you all in the next one.